Hello everyone, Katarina here. Welcome to my Christmas card series. We are on the card number 3. This is the main part of this project. I created a background that resembles a knitted button. And this is the card I made. I actually had a little bit of trouble with what to do regarding the card. My original idea did not work. Luckily, I came up with another idea that I really like. But let me know in the comments, what would you do? How would you use this background? This background is very easy to make, much easier than the other 2 cards, and they are quite easy in my opinion. But what it is not is quick to make. It does take a little bit more time, but in my opinion, it's well worth it. Before I started filming, I did 2 things. I'm gonna also start painting while I talk about these, and I will speed up the video in a bit. I first drew these vertical lines with a pencil and a ruler. After experimenting with the different widths, I decided to use a gap of 8 millimeters, which was for me the perfect width. These lines are going to be a guide. I know you knit in rows, not columns, but this way it was much easier to paint. The second thing I did is I tested a few brushes. I wanted a brush that was perfect to stamp. This is technically the same thing I did for one of my Valentine's Day cards this year. All I'm doing here, I dip my brush into the paint and then I press it onto the paper, creating a little V shapes, sort of stamping with the brush. And I'm following the line downwards. As I was painting, I was switching between the colors. I decided to use 3 colors in 2 shades, pink, blue, and purple. I was also thinking about making just a monochrome background. We're using just 1 color, which is actually much easier choice. It stops you from overthinking which color to use next. So that might be another option for you. I'm pretty much doing here the same thing. I'm sure you understand the idea. Painting the little heart shapes, following the line, and filling the background. So I will speed up the video even more, play some music, and I will be back to make the cut. I'm almost done with the painting. It's pretty much exactly what I had in mind. My idea comes from a stencil with a knitted pattern, which I wanted to buy for years, but I usually forget or it's not available. So I thought I could paint it. And if you like this background, I would really appreciate if you gave this video a like. What I wasn't happy about this background was what to do with it. Originally, I thought I will use a bigger sentiment die that says Merry Christmas in Swedish, but it was too dainty and it did not stand out. You could hardly see it. So plan B was, well, I did not have a plan B, but what I did, I first decided to die cut the panel a bit smaller. You can also use a paper trimmer. And since I was doing this while the background was completely dry, I also erased the pencil lines. Then I picked another smaller word die, also with a Swedish Merry Christmas. I die cut it twice out of watercolor cardstock. The top layer I painted using gold watercolors, and the bottom I painted using pink. One of the pinks I used for the background. And I also used the pink, or more like a reddish pink, to paint a strip that you can see on the side next to the paints. I painted 2 coats on both strip and the die cuts, so it's really vibrant. If you decide to do the same, you want to do this while you are painting the background. So by the time you are finished with the background, the little pieces are dried as well. And if you don't have any dies or stamps for the greeting, you can use a white or gold gel pen and write the greeting on the banner. To make the card, I picked a card base that I made out of a craft cardstock. And because I cut the background a bit smaller, I decided to splatter the parts of the card base that will be visible using gold paint. You can also do this if you are using a white card base, and if you don't have a gold paint, you could use colors that you used for the background. I actually used 2 different shades of gold just because the one I used for the sentiment was a little bit too dark. Next, I glued the die-cut sentiment pieces together. My glue is a bit thick, so I used a brush to apply it. By the way, I also painted the back of the red die cut so you don't see the white once it's adhered. This is because the strip is smaller than the greeting, which you will see next. This was intentional. Once I adhere the words on top of each other, I adhere them on top of the strip, and you can see it has a slight overhang. Once the greeting was ready, I assembled the card. First, I adhered the greeting on top of the background I painted. I used a foam tape to adhere it, which I also used for the background, so it's nicely raised. And lastly, I adhere the background on top of the card base. By the way, if you don't have a foam tape, you can just use a glue. Here is the finished card. I really love the end result. I also like the gold splatter. I think it complements the craft cardstock and it gives it a little bit of sparkle. And I hope you feel inspired with the whole card or just the background. If you did not catch my bonus video, this year I decided to make all of my Christmas cards completely from scratch using just watercolors. But normally I make all kinds of cards using stamps, dies, embossing folders, powders, embossing paste, all kinds of coloring products. So if you are looking for more inspiration, check out my older videos. You can always swap out products you don't have with something else and make a card that is even more unique. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like, and I will see you in my next video.